even if you do not believe anything that Stormy Daniels says, it does not mean that Mr. Trump did not commit a crime here. What seems, the defense doesn't seem to dispute that he paid $130,000 to Stormy Daniels. Now, either he was doing it because he had slept with her and he didn't want that story to get out, or like he's trying to imply that she's an extortionist and he paid it in order to keep that story from getting out. It doesn't matter because it's still a campaign finance violation. You kind of put out $130,000 as a benefit to a campaign. You got to report that. And the heart of this case is actually Mr. David Pecker's testimony and the paper trail they have showing all of this catch and kill kind of little scheme, which was a benefit to Donald Trump's presidential campaign that was unreported under campaign finance laws. And whether you believe Stormy Daniels or not is irrelevant because he's not disputing that $130,000 went out the door from him. So it's really interesting. And the prosecution has really put together a very smart case. It's not just about some misdemeanor with Stormy Daniels. It's about violating campaign finance laws, which are felonies.
Does Donald Trump need new lawyers? Robert, I don't know if you're available right now, but Juan Merchan, the judge, made it pretty clear that they're not doing their job very well, calling for mistrials instead of objecting in real time to witnesses like Stormy Daniels. Are they doing a disservice to Donald Trump?
Well, they most certainly are, but I think that's just part of a silly tactic. Everybody knows you object at the time the testimony comes out to allow a judge to take corrective action. If you want to make a drama out of the mistrial theme, because this is Donald Trump's political theme, it's a witch hunt, it's bad, it should be a mistrial, blah, blah, blah. Well, then you hold off doing your proper objections and then object and ask for a mistrial because, you know, asking for a mistrial is way more sexy than just giving some objection during testimony. So I just think it's just part of the show, to be honest with you. The quality of his lawyering, well, that's an open question. Donald Trump is an impossible client. I mean, reports that you get is he's angry with his lawyers for not being aggressive enough. I think that's just silly. And his lawyers wouldn't be serving him if they were. So does he need new lawyers? I don't know. I'm not sure I'd be available for him. So.
Oh, we got that cleared up.
Well, as we speak, Robert, and our audience on Bloomberg Television could see Donald Trump is actually outside the courthouse right now addressing the media, appears to be reading some papers and holding them up for the cameras to see, of course, if he says anything relevant. We will bring that to our television and radio audience. And once trial proceedings wrap up for today, Robert, come Monday, we understand Michael Cohen will be on the stand. He has been pegged or at least described as the prosecution's star witness. Considering what we saw, though, in the defense's cross-examination of Stormy Daniels and knowing there are questions around the credibility of Michael Cohen, given, for example, he spent time in jail, how difficult is it going to be for the prosecution and for the defense to deal with him as a witness?
Well, it's interesting. Michael Cohen, I believe, is a much more important witness to the actual crime than, for instance, Stormy Daniels is. But he's also pretty much an open book. We know exactly what he's going to say, and we know exactly what they're going to do to try to attack him. And he's got a pretty good public narrative about he kind of had an epiphany about his role in helping Donald Trump, and he has gone ahead and presented that. Now, it's interesting, though, because what the prosecutor has done is put a whole series of other witnesses, including Hope Hicks, to lay the foundation for what Michael Cohen says. Not the foundation for what Stormy Daniels has testified, but for what Michael Cohen says. So even if they attack him, well, I'm sorry, these payments are still going out the door, and Michael Cohen was facilitating them. And that is the crime here. So, you know, can the prosecution win points? Yes. Can the defense attack them? Certainly. But I'll give an example. There are cases, large drug conspiracies that go to trial all the time with very ugly cooperating witnesses who the jury dislikes, who are not nice people, but they believe them perfectly fine when they point the finger at other co-defendants. And there are convictions that happen that way all the time. So the jury doesn't have to like Michael Cohen. They might think he's a total scumbag, but that doesn't mean they're not going to believe his testimony about what occurred here.
Our last moment here, Robert, the prosecution says it will rest next week. Does that mean we're on time?
Oh, yes. In fact, I had predicted this case would go quickly because, one, it's a very good prosecution. Two, this is a good judge. He knows his stuff and he doesn't waste time. I'm not sure also how much more the defense has got to say. I mean, what are they going to put on after this? So I think this trial is going to be done certainly well, I would be shocked if this trial isn't done before the end of this month.